Hello and welcome to another video. Today I wanted to take a look at Cradily with its new move Rock Slide, which in my opinion is a massive upgrade over Stone Edge, because before you needed to land 2 moves in order to take out pretty much everything you wanted to take out with Cradily. Now you still need to land 2 moves, but you just get to them a lot quicker, making matchups against, for example, Noctowl a lot more comfortable for Cradily. Cradily is weak to Registeel, Alolan, Sandslash and fighting types, which are its main weaknesses in the Open Great League right now, I feel. So I paired it with Medicham. You can also pair it with the Defense Deoxys and Alolan Marowak. I feel like Alolan Marowak Cradily make a very good core, because Cradily beats the water type flying type core in Noctowl Lantern most dominantly, and Alolan Marowak beats the ice and steel and fighting types. Going into the first game, we lead into a Registeel. Yikes, we have to save swap immediately. I choose to have Medicham as my save swap because Alolan Marowak has a lot more sweeper potential. That is because Medicham, people are never going to be ABA weak to Medicham, or very rarely, as in they're never going to have a Registeel in the lead and something else weak to Medicham in the back, or again, very rarely. But because Alolan Marowak is a lot less common, they might very well have Registeel in the lead and something else in the back that is also weak to Alolan Marowak, meaning even if we lose lead and lose switch in, we might be able to sweep them in the back with Alolan Marowak. So bring in Cradily again, and they do get to another foul play on Sableye before we can farm them down. Obviously, this energy is just going to go into the abyss, as is the nickname of Registeel, but they bring in a Lurantis onto Alolan Marowak, and they realize there is no way their grass type and their steel type is going to stand any chance against Alolan Marowak, so they concede the match, and Alolan Marowak sweeps the game, or would have swept the game. Next game, lead into a Noctowl. As I said in the beginning, this is one of those matchups that's just a lot more comfortable for Cradily than it was before. You just win every even shield scenario here. So we go for the Rock Slide, does about half, and then we can go for another one. And we just outpace the Noctowl in every even shield scenario. So we don't need to worry about anything. If they shield, we can shield. We can also decide not to shield and just get a shield advantage if we want. But yeah, every option is open. Go for another Rock Slide here. Should take out the Noctowl or grab the last shield. Does take out the Noctowl. And then they bring in a Registeel. We bring in Medicham. We have 2 better responses in the back. And also, when they have Noctowl in the lead and like a Registeel in the back, it like, how many times have you seen a team with like Noctowl, Registeel, and then a water type in the back? Noctowl is very often has water type in the back, like a Lantern or a Swampert. So I want to save my Cradily for those. Go for the sidekick, and then I decide to let my Medicham go here. It's very unfortunate that Medicham loses the 0 shields against Registeel. And then I make a bit of a mistake here, I think, because my switch timer is not up here. I'm expecting a water type in the back. If I bring in Cradily, I can just outpace the Registeel to another move and take it out, and not give their more water type in the back any additional energy advantage on my Cradily. But if I bring in a Alolan Marowak, as I do, you're gonna see here, they bring in their Alolan Swampert? No, their Swampert. And now they can overfarm on Alolan Marowak. And even though I'm letting my Alolan Marowak go, I should definitely have gone for the Bone Club, by the way, or the Shadow Bone, by the way, before swapping out. But now they come out with so much energy that my Cradily simply can't handle this Swampert when it's this low. I also make another huge mistake here in going for the Rock Slide. If I'd gone for the Grass Knot, we could have just taken it out. But yeah, I wasn't expecting them to no-shield. It was also definitely a mistake for them to no-shield, because if I had gone for the Grass Knot, I would have gotten to another move on the Registeel, and my Alolan Marowak also had a move in the back, so I would have actually won if I'd gone for the Grass Knot. But yeah, a flurry of mistakes, and I end up losing that game. Next game, lead into a Shadow, Alolan, Sandslash. And as you saw there, when you're leading Shadow, Alolan, Sandslash, or when you're using it, you gotta be quick with your swaps, as I said last video as well, because those counters just absolutely chunk. We once again save swap Medicham. Once again they have Sableye in the back. Cradily also has a bad matchup against Shadow, Alolan, Sandslash, or Alolan, Sandslash in general, but up a bit of energy or up a shield, you can actually flip that matchup. And with the counter damage that Cradily did to the Alolan Sandslash, Cradily getting this farm down, only taking 1 foul play, can actually do quite a lot to that Alolan Sandslash. I'm not sure why they didn't throw their second foul play here. I'm pretty sure they had another foul play and then some, but for some reason they didn't throw it. So now we come out with quite a bit of energy and a bit of HP. Go for the first Rock Slide. It does about 44%. So if they want to keep their Alolan Sandslash semi-healthy, they have to shield it. They go up to the Drill Run, and bait me with an Ice Punch on Alolan Marowak. But once again, they're just core broken by Alolan Marowak. I saw some YouTuber yesterday made a video with this core, Shadow Alolan, Sandslash and Medicham. So now we're just completely core breaking this core. Not a lot of people are using Alolan Marowak, to be fair. If you see the same YouTuber, you should probably subscribe to him, because this is a really good team that he's made with Alolan, Sandslash and Medicham. You can also check it out, maybe on this exact channel if you want to. They go for another Ice Punch, and I just want to showcase this. If they had not gone for this Ice Punch, they could have like threatened the Psychic, meaning I would have to throw my Shadow Bone a lot quicker. But because they go for the Ice Punch before they get to the Psychic, I can just overfarm like crazy on my Alolan Marowak, not having to worry about the Psychic, meaning I come out with a lot more energy. It doesn't matter in this specific situation, but it's just a good thing to be aware of. Don't throw the energy just because you're not expecting to get to another move. You have to like threaten it, otherwise the opponent can overfarm even more and just come out with so much energy. Next game, lead into Sableye, pretty neutral lead. Cradily does win the 0 shield and the 1 shield straight Rock Slide. In neutral matchups, as in with Grass Knot and Rock Slide are equally effective, you usually want to go Grass Knot because it's more energy efficient. But against Sableye specifically, you want to go Rock Slide because 2 Rock Slides is enough to take out Sableye and 1 Grass Knot is not enough to take out Sableye. So we go for the first Rock Slide, they shield it, then we shield their foul play, and they bring in a Alolan Sandslash. I always want to say Shadow Alolan Sandslash, I don't know why, but it's a regular Alolan Sandslash. It's actually a shiny Alolan Sandslash, I guess. They do get to 2 Ice Punches. I brought in Medicham because Alolan Marowak has to shield the Drill Run from Alolan Sandslash, whereas Medicham can just farm it all the way down without having to expend the shield. But looking back at it, when they're leading Sableye and they're save swapping Alolan Sandslash, they are probably weak to counter in the back. They're probably trying to lure out counter. I'm seeing a lot of these teams. Also, they have a foul play now. I have a lot of energy on my Cradily, so I don't just want to sacrifice it. So I have to expend the shield no matter what. So I would rather bring in the Alolan Marowak to get a little bit of energy. Then they bring in Deoxys. I bring in my Cradily way too late. If I brought it in like immediately, I might have been able to get to 2 Grass Knots and taken half of this Deoxys health, which might have made a little bit of a difference. It does about 49%, but because I swapped in so late, the Deoxys is just going to get to the Fire Punch on CMP, and there's just nothing Alolan Marowak can do here. If I had swapped Alolan Marowak in on Alolan Sandslash, anticipating them to be weak against Medicham in the back, yeah, we probably would have won, but yeah, tough to make that decision in the moment. Next game, we lead into a bit of a core breaker, Deoxys. But as I said last video, if you just save Medicham for whatever they have in the back, you are probably in a pretty good situation. They're not always weak to Medicham in the back when they're leading Deoxys, but they are a lot of the time. So I'm just going to basically sacrifice my Cradily, although this is a pretty bad matchup. Go for the Grass Knot and sloppily allow them to catch it on their Alolan Sandslash. And once again, I'm bringing in Alolan Marowak. Although Alolan Marowak, you might say, oh, you want Alolan Marowak for their Deoxys. But I'm thinking I want Medicham for whatever they had in the back. Also, they definitely did 6 Shadow Claws and had the Drill Run there. I'm not sure why they threw the Ice Punch. I have looked it over several times. They definitely had it. We go for the Shadow Bone against the Shadow Walrein. Does massive damage. They load up to 8 Powder Snows, so they only have an Icicle Spear here. We can't let it go. And then I know they're 1 away from the Psycho Boost, so go for the Bone Club immediately. Don't want to let them get to the Psycho Boost. Looking back at it, obviously they're not going to debuff their own Deoxys when it's the last Pokemon they have remaining, so probably could have thrown on good timing. But we get to another Bone Club on CMP. Also, I'm throwing Bone Clubs because Deoxys is their last Pokemon. They have such little HP on it, so they have to shield basically everything. So it might seem like a pretty silly bait, but yeah, I'm just anticipating them to shield everything. Bring in Medicham, they realize they have no chance of winning, and we win that game. Next game, lead into a pretty neutral matchup, Shadow Nidoqueen. Cradily and Nidoqueen pace to Poison Fangs and Grass Nuts at the exact same time. So I'm anticipating them as they go up to the back-to-back Poison Fangs here. I'm anticipating they're going to throw it immediately, the second one. Don't want to shield the first one because it debuffs. So I don't want to CMP tire them because I know Cradily is going to lose CMP against Shadow Nidoqueen, or just Nidoqueen in general. And now I swap into Medicham to clear my debuff and to see if they have a Sableye in the back, because Nidoqueen is often with like double Dark in the back, and it might be Sableye. And this is also kind of an ABB team, where you use Medicham to lure out like a Noctowl or a Sableye, or it can be used that way as well. Go for the Psychic against the Pelipper. You saw I overfarmed quite a lot to try and throw off my opponent from their count, so they might not realize that we're already at an Ice Punch, and that actually pays off. We get off an Ice Punch, threaten the shield, and they have to expend it. Also go for the CMP here, although I know I'm going to lose it. I also know the Pelipper has 2 moves, so I would rather lose the first CMP than the second one, so that we can get off this Rock Slide to take out the Pelipper, and then they bring in a Medicham. Once again, they are just core broken by Alolan Marowak. Or not core broken, but yeah, they're quite weak to Alolan Marowak in the back. So we go for the Bone Club against Shadow Nidoqueen, take it out, and now we should just be able to... I don't know why I'm over farming. I should probably throw the Shadow Bone immediately so we could see how much damage it does to the Medicham, but I decided to over farm for some reason. It does about 62%, I can tell you that. Next game, we lead into a Cofagrigus. This is a pretty neutral matchup. I didn't look it up before I played it, but when you're in a matchup where Grass Knot and Rock Slide are equally effective, you want to generally go for Grass Knot. I know Cofagrigus is quite bulky, so I do decide to go for the Grass Knot, thinking that maybe 2 Grass Knots is enough. It looks like a Grass Knot plus a Rock Slide might be enough here. A Rock Slide only does a little bit less damage than a Grass Knot, so seeing the damage from Grass Knot, I think a Rock Slide is enough, and it is just about enough. I was very close to pivoting out into Medicham, but I decided to stay in against this Alolan Ninetales, although it is a bad matchup, because we have such a dominant matchup in the back with the Alolan Marowak, so I just kind of want to keep switch advantage here, so I can get Alolan Marowak onto the Alolan Ninetales. So let the Cradily go, and then we bring in Alolan Marowak, they bring in Quagsire. If it's a Shadow Swampert, you want to be quite quick with your swaps, so as soon as I see the Mudboy symbol in the top right, I bring in Medicham. Because Shadow Swampert up too much energy is just a menace to deal with. They get to another Mud Bomb. This is fine. I realize I'm going to get to 2 Psychics before they get to 2 more Mud Bombs. So I'm just like, no point in baiting. Just go for the first Psychic. If they shield it, we can shield their Mud Bomb. And then we can go for another Psychic. Make sure we use Medicham to take out Quagsire. And then Alolan Marowak should be able to deal with Ninetales in the back. Shield the Mud Bomb. The switch time is almost up, so I don't really care about over farming perfectly here. I just want to make sure we get the Psychic off before the switch timer comes up. And now we can swap in Marowak against the Alolan Ninetales. And they do get to a Dazzling Gleam. It is a pretty big nuke, and it should do a lot of damage to a lot of things, but it is resisted. And Alolan Marowak, just tank it, no problem. Get off the Shadow Bone, and that is a good game. Next game. Lead into Altaria. This is not a good matchup for Cradily. It loses the 1 shields at least. It does win the 0 shields because you just get to 2 Rock Slides before it gets to 2 moves, and you can lift the first Sky Attack quite comfortably, as you can see here. But the Dragon Breath just add up too much in later shield scenarios. So it's not a comfortable matchup for Cradily. They do also shield the first one. I'm afraid I'm going to get farmed down if I go up to back Rock Slide. So I would rather go for the second one immediately so I can bring my Medicham in as soon as possible before the Altaria gets too much energy. Of course I have to shield this because it would do like a lot of damage to Medicham. And then they bring in Deoxys. Yikes. This is really not a good matchup for Medicham. We go for the Ice Punch. It is more energy efficient. Psychic does a little bit more damage if you can only get to 1, as I'm going to showcase later. They go for the Thunderbolt. They threw both of their Sky Attacks immediately on Altaria, so I'm anticipating they might throw the second Thunderbolt immediately on Deoxys as well. So I know they're 3 away here, so I want to try and CMP tie them with the Psychic, because a Psychic does more damage than an Ice Punch. It is less energy efficient, but if you only get to 1, you go for the Psychic. Does a lot of damage to the Deoxys, should put it into farm range. They go for a Rock Slide actually. I decided to let them farm by Medicham down because I want to keep my switch timer open so I can potentially catch my Cradily later on. And then they bring in Altaria. The Altaria threw both of its Sky Attacks immediately, meaning it's 15 turns away from the next move, which is the same as 5 Fire Spins. So I knew I could go for 5 Fire Spins before throwing a Shadowbone at it. They try to catch on a Registeel. I'm not sure they were trying to catch, or yeah. But they throw after 14 turns. I wasn't like 100% sure I'd counted correctly, so it might have been a Zap Cannon, which is the move I want to shield, but because it's a Flash Cannon, yeah, they were still 16 turns away from the next Zap Cannon, so we can't just farm them all the way down, get up to 2 Shadow Bones, throw the first one into the shield, and go for the second one, which should KO the Altaria. That is a good game. Alolan Marowak has been putting in work for me. It's not the best Pokemon in the Great League, but I've had a lot of success with it today. Next game, lead into a Pelipper. This is also a good matchup for Cradily. Wins all even shield scenarios. Another one of those which has just become a lot more comfortable with Rock Slide. They tried to catch on a Registeel, which is a pretty good attempted catch. I bring in Alolan Marowak and not Medicham, because Medicham has to expend a shield in order to take out Registeel, and I don't want to go down a shield in order to secure Switch, and I really want Switch. So Alolan Marowak can win all even shield scenarios against Registeel, because it can lift one Zap Cannon and then take the Registeel out. But it does leave the Alolan Marowak in farm range for the Pelipper. I also should have gone double Bone Club, but I wasn't 100% sure about that matchup going into it. A good lesson to learn here, if you're not aware already, if you have a 2-turn move on a 3-turn move, as in Wing Attack versus Bullet Seed, you want to throw in the middle of their first Bullet Seed or in the middle of their third Bullet Seed in order to throw in good timing. Because if you throw the moves immediately, as this opponent keeps doing, they're giving me 3 turns worth of energy through every single time. They gave me 9 turns worth of energy through by throwing all their moves immediately here. I also end up throwing on pretty bad timing because I kind of panicked seeing the Trevenant. I was expecting the Pelipper double Steel team, which I've been seeing a lot with Stunfisk or Bastiodon in the back, and I thought it was just going to be a comfortable game. But as I saw the Trevenant, I was like, what do I do here? Medicham cannot do anything. But luckily, because Cradily has Rock Slide, we can get 2 of them off, force the shield, and now Medicham should be able to get to an Ice Punch before they get to another Shadow Ball or a Seed Bomb. So we get to the Ice Punch, overfarm as much as possible before they get to another move, and now the Pelipper has to get to a Hurricane, we have to get to a Psychic, and we outpace them. A Weather Ball would not have been enough, an Ice Punch would not have been enough, so both of us just had to go for the nuke, and we get to it before they do, and that is a good game. Next game, lead into an Umbreon. This is actually a good matchup for Cradily. A good Cradily wins the 0 shields and the 1 shields against an Umbreon, which is really huge. Umbreon is pretty known for like winning neutral matchups, so Cradily winning this is really crazy. Go for the first Grass Knot, they go for a foul play. I'm trying to, I want to throw when they don't have a foul play so I can do the 1-turn wait, make sure they don't catch it. As you can see I do here. It's just, I don't think it's necessary. I'm not anticipating that they're going to try to catch, but it's just nice. Also go for the Rock Slide here on CMP. I'm not 100% sure with KO. It's probably a little bit of a silly bait actually, because the Grass Knot would definitely KO, but they do end up shielding it. Now I can let the Cradily go. It does live 3 foul plays, but I save it for a sack later and then bring in Medicham, and they bring in Wigglytuff. Yikes. But this is actually not as bad of a matchup as you might think, because the counters are neutral and the Psychic does quite a lot of damage, as you can see here. We also get the defense drop, which is really huge because it means we can farm them all the way down. That was really lucky. But you know what's even more lucky than getting 1 Psychic defense drop? Getting 2 in a row. I'm not sure if it's 10% chance or 12.5% chance of getting the Psychic debuff, but getting 2 in a row is very unlikely. Having Alolan Marowak on a Azumarill at the end is not ideal. They go for the Ice Beam bait. Kind of have to shield everything here because the bubbles are just adding up so much. The Umbreon has a move banked in the back, but I am realizing if I let this go, it only does about 24% because they only did 5 bubbles. They're only at an Ice Beam. If I let this go, I think I'm just going to get bubbled down before I get to 2 Shadow Bones. But if I shield it, they can just snipe me with Umbreon. So I have to make a decision. I decide to shield it, and then I'm just making a hard read that they're going to snipe me with Umbreon. And I get it right this time. You may say maybe it was a bit lucky. Maybe, I think it was a pretty good call. I just had a feeling that they were going to do it. And now we can farm down the Umbreon, come out with almost 2 Shadow Bones. The first one actually does a lot of damage. I could just go for the Bone Club. I don't know why I go for the Shadow Bone here. I think I'm just so used to playing the same people over and over again, so I didn't want to reveal that I had Shadow Bone, I guess. But yeah, we take out the Azumarill, Shadow Alolan Marowak is a water counter confirmed, and that is a good game. That was the last battle for today, and overall I don't think this is the best team in the world. I think it falls in the category of if you want to try something a little bit differently, that's also gonna work alright. I don't think Cradily or Marowak are like the best Pokemon in the Great League, but they're pretty good and they do have some cool usage, and they're good together, I feel, in the core, although they do struggle against if you find an Obstagoon or a Scrafter in the lead, which I luckily didn't. I don't really know what to do in that situation, not gonna lie. But other than that, fun fact of the day, Cradily beats Shadow Alolan Sandslash in the Zero Shields with 1 fast moves advantage. It also beats it in the 1 shields with 2 fast moves advantage. So if you can swap out, then bring it back in, get a farm down on something, and then maybe swap out again, get some shields down, play it like that, you can actually beat it in the end game, although you don't win switch advantage if you see the Alolan Sandslash on the lead. So that's a very good thing to be aware of. You can't do it against the regular one because 2 rock slides is not enough. But other than that, if you like what you see or you feel like you learned something, like and subscribe. Thank you for watching, and I hope to see you next time.